Our battle against insurgency, banditry, and terrorism and other forms of violence seem checked lately only with a drastic focus on the 2023 general elections. So much so, many people are beginning to fear that governance may suffer and the gains we've made may be reversed. Well, on that note, I welcome you to our program, Violence Free World. And my guest on the program today is a very interesting personality, a personality that have dominated discourse in the last few weeks. Chief Femi Fani Kayode, the former Minister of Aviation. Chief, you're welcome to our program.
Thank you very much.
Well, we'll come right back into the conversation, but after this time. My name is Cally Ikpe. Don't go anywhere.
Lack of inclusiveness breeds distrust and ultimately engenders restiveness. Ignoring the youth who constitute the bulk of our population is a sure recipe for disaster. No sane society should consign its youth to the background. Hand in hand with our youths, and we can build a strong, prosperous, and peaceful nation. I am Yahaya Bello, and I believe we can have a violence-free Nigeria.
Well, in the last 1 year or so, you've gone from being a fair critic of Muhammad Buhari, invariably calling out the rampaging Fulani herdsmen for their excesses, to now someone that is a pacifist. Now, you're preaching national unity to the extent that you even cite historical trend that buttresses the fact that no particular tribe, no particular religion has a monopoly of violence, that everybody can do anything. It should not just be ascribed to one. How did you achieve this sudden change of heart? What informed it?
Well, first of all, I'm not a pacifist. I'm not a pacifist at all. I'm far from it. I'm somebody that believes very much in using the most extreme forms of violence against those that seek to destabilize the state and that kill people in the name of ethnicity or in the name of religion or anything like that. I've been very clear about that from the beginning, and that will always be my position, that you have to have a strong hand against those that seek to terrorize and kill innocent men and women, regardless of their faith, regardless of where they come from. And I think that's the priority, and that's the most important thing to establish, and that's what any government ought to do. People tend to look at my past criticisms from a prism of ethnicity and religion. It's not so. Where I believe the government got it wrong, I said so clearly. Where I believe that they were not hard enough on certain people, I said so. Where I believe that they were not doing the right thing, I said so. And I have no apology for that whatsoever. The most important thing for me is to acknowledge the fact that where they are getting it right, we have to have the presence of mind and the humility to admit that, look, certain things are being done in the right way, and we have to acknowledge that in an attempt to ensure that we have national unity. After all, if we don't have a Nigeria, there won't be any political parties, there won't be any vying for 2023. There won't be anything, because we'll all be dead or we'll all be refugees. So the most important thing, I believe, is not just to criticize for the sake of criticizing, but to acknowledge where the government gets it right and where others get it right, even past adversaries, to encourage them to continue to get it right, and at the same time to ensure that we have national stability, national unity, and we ensure that our country is violence-free. Like, the theme of this program, we have to ensure that we stop killing one another in the name of religion, in the name of ethnicity, or whatsoever. Where I believe we need violence is when it comes to dealing with people from outside this country, foreigners who have come to our country, sponsored and encouraged by foreign powers to destabilize us and cause us to fall into a civil war and start killing one another. And we need to be sensitive to that, because I believe that's really what's going on here. And so when you talk about, for example, Fulani herdsmen, and you talk about bandits, and you talk about Boko Haram, you talk about other terrorists generally, from all over the country, by the way, not just the terrorists in the north. There are also terrorists in the southeast now that are targeting policemen and killing their own people. When you talk about such people, I believe that we should have a firm hand, a very firm hand against such people. And I believe that we need to do something about it, arm our security agencies, support them to fight such people. What I don't believe in is for us to turn our guns on one another and blame one another.
Okay, Chief, it's not like this is any different from how you felt. Our concern is a sudden change of heart, change of attitude towards certain players in the industry.
Sure.
I
understand that. I understand.
How,
let me explain that.
Yes.
There's a difference between being a politician and being a statesman. It gets to a point that you've got to appreciate the fact that if you play politics without any apology, and you continue to raise the temperature and raise the bar, and you see that you're heading for a cliff edge, the whole country is going to a cliff edge. If you continue to do that, then you must retrace your steps and begin to warn against the excesses of some of our politicians and the reckless behavior in which they indulge in on all sides. Not on one, not on the other, but on all sides. We need to check our rhetoric. We need to ensure that we build bridges and ensure we sustain our unity. Now, it's okay to say that you believe in, for example, self-determination. It's all right. You can have that view. Many people have that view. To a certain extent, I have that view. However, you must not say that you will translate that into violence to effect your purpose. That is something that is unacceptable and something that I would never support. You may say you believe in a united Nigeria, and many have that view. I have that view as well. But what you mustn't say is that being a unitarist or somebody that believes in united Nigeria, that you must kill anybody that doesn't share your view. I believe that we can come together and talk to one another. And over the last 1 year, I've been doing precisely that. Unlike most politicians who have just been scheming for positions of power, either in this government or in the next government to come or whatever, what I've been doing is looking to bridges to ensure national unity. Therefore, I communicated and I spoke and I interacted closely with key players from all political parties.
Yeah, we're going to come right into that.
So that is not a sudden turn. Yeah. It's something that built up over a period of time. And during the course of that time, I discovered a lot of things which I didn't know before about key players within the APC, some of the governors, and also the president himself and the efforts they're making. And I was given the privilege to assist in some things. So I think that's where the turn now came. And I believe we can work together.
The biggest move yet seemed to be your recent visits to the President Muhammadu Buhari. And that kind of had made you an issue in a rather too controversial manner. You've been attacked from various quarters. People say that FFK is a sellout. Some say FFK needs a job badly now to maintain his expensive lifestyle. Some say, well, this is even a repeat of a tendency that had been manifested by his father in the past. Some even go on to mention Olusegun Obasanjo, the former president, has said that, well, where FFK, wherever he pays it better, no matter where he stand, he has no qualms changing.
First of all, let's start with about President Olusegun Obasanjo, who I worked for as one of his ministers for some time, and also his spokesman for a number of years when he was president of this country. I will tell you that he never said anything like that. He never said it. It was a fabricated quote on social media. It was fabricated in 2013 at a time that people wanted me to start attacking Obasanjo. Okay? Because they now came up with this quote. I know the boy that did it. He worked for a particular website magazine. When we made a complaint about it, the boy was removed from his job. 1 year later, just over a year later, the boy unfortunately, sadly died in a car accident. I know the boy. And he apologized to me at the time. Total fabrication at the time. And at that time, when it happened in 2013, one of Obasanjo's aides actually came out and said, he never said that. But you know, people are intellectually lazy in this country. They don't bother to cross-check on anything. So they now say, Obasanjo said, Obasanjo. Obasanjo never said anything. If he had said that, definitely would have responded at that time. But it was an attempt to provoke me into responding to OBJ, who I can never do because he's my father, he's my boss, he's somebody that I worked for and somebody that I defended for a number of years. So that's number one. Number two, all the other issues that you mentioned. You say they spoke about my father. These people that are talking about my father, most of them are not even fit to tie his shoelaces. This is a man that moved the motion for Nigeria's independence successfully in 1958. This is a man of integrity, a man of strength, a man of courage that built bridges in this country against the tide at that time. And he fought hard together with people like Chief S.L. Akitola to ensure that the Yorubas got the best deal at the center. Now, you may disagree with him. Many disagreed with him at the time in that vision, but that's precisely what we see manifesting today. And I am very proud of my father. And for anybody to talk about my father, well, like I said, I don't know who their fathers are, so I tend not to respond to such rubbish. You spoke about other people, saying all sorts of things. Let me just...
And they want a job too. Yeah.
Well, if I wanted a job with this government or any other government, I wouldn't have been attacking them for the last 6 years. If I wanted a job, even from 2008, when the president that I served left office, Yaradua came in, then Jonathan came, I wouldn't have criticized Yaradua. I wouldn't have criticized Jonathan to the extent that I did. I criticized them all for, all the years that PDP was in power, right up until 2014. I criticize them effectively because I believe part of the job of anybody that is serious in this game is to keep any government in its own. Even my own government, which prosecuted me, PDP government, prosecuted me for 7 years to the day. You understand? I criticized them at the time. And I wasn't looking for anything from them. If I had been, I wouldn't have criticized Yaradua, I wouldn't have criticized Jonathan, and I wouldn't have criticized Buhari effectively the way I have done. They did a survey not too long ago. I was the #1 when it comes to criticizing this government. I did all that out of integrity and decency and out of wanting to ensure the government did the right thing. So anybody that does not, and most people that always lack the courage to do such things because they are desperate to look for something. I'm not looking for anything from anybody, and I never will. And I'll tell you what, okay, I have never lacked anything, unlike most of these people. For 4 generations, we have done very well. I don't talk about my antecedents. I don't talk about my family. I don't talk about my father when it comes to politics. Go and check the record. I talk about what I'm doing, what I have done, and what I am doing, and what I will do. I'm much more comfortable with that.
Well, Chief, now let's go back to this issue of your relationship with Muhammad Buhari. Now that you see him differently, would you be willing to work with him to move Nigeria forward? That's not just Muhammad Buhari now. What about Issa Pantami, Minister of Communication, that you're reported to have vilified, and quote you started in the past, antagonized? Now, your acquaintances, it seems more or less like your friends now. What's going on? What's this sudden back and forth?
Well, let me first of all start by answering you in this way. Every person that's been on the national scene, and I've been on the national scene in my own right for almost 30 years now. Okay, I've been writing, I've been commentating, I've been saying all sorts. I've fought for people's rights, and I've been a politician for almost 30 years now. Never run for elective office, but I will. Now, in the course of that time, you've had differences with so many different people. Differences of opinion. Sometimes you speak harshly, sometimes you don't speak harshly. And then at other times, later perhaps you change your position on that person based on what you have discovered about them. But most importantly, on their own willingness to accommodate your views and work with you. Okay? And that's the key to this. When it comes to the issue of President Muhammadu Buhari, it was never anything personal. We had differences, or rather I had differences with him on a number of issues before 2015, during the 2015 election, and between that time and quite up until quite recently. A number of policy issues, policy differences, and the perception that I had was he was fueling certain things which I believe were inimical to the unity of my country, Nigeria. I have no other country. And therefore, I stood my ground and I spoke truth to power, courageously, unlike most people. Okay? When it became clear to me that it wasn't quite like that, it was a far more complicated issue. And 2 things happened, because this is a very profound question you've asked me. Give me a little time to answer it. 2 things will happen. A number of things happened, but I'll focus on 2. The first thing that happened, which impressed me immensely, was the fact that many of the APC governors that I started interacting with were very accommodating to me. They opened their doors. We spoke from the heart to one another. I told them my views, my challenges in terms of what's going on in the country, why I oppose the government, and so on and so forth. And they came across with a different perspective. And instead of vilifying and closing doors, they said, look, let's talk. Let's find a way in which we can accommodate one another and perhaps even work together. That's number one. That couldn't have happened without President Buhari giving the go-ahead. That's where it all started. And I thought that was a pretty smart move on his part. And I continued, so it was smart on my part as well. And that's where all this started. Now, two major issues took place, which really made me now change my mind about where I would stand. The first one was this. We had a situation whereby this country almost came to a civil war, would have had a civil war, or the beginning of a civil war, a few months ago, 6 months ago or thereabouts. A lot of people don't know about this. And a lot of people don't appreciate it because they don't know the facts. Well, let me share some of those facts with you right now. And I stand to be corrected. I'm saying this on national television. Okay. I got a call in the middle of the night from the governor of Kogi State. By that time, we had been interacting. And he asked me to join him, that we had a bit of a situation and he wanted me to assist. And I gladly went there. This was at the time of the food embargo. And he explained certain things to me privately. That, look, we have a major crisis. The president had given 3 days to resolve the crisis. The food embargo was on, and it would not be lifted until this, unless we negotiate and get them to stop the food embargo. And that he wanted me to be part of that process. But more importantly, the reason he wanted me there was because elements within the northern part of the country had threatened that they were going to kill Southerners, and the butchering, the killing would start, in a matter of days if we didn't do something about it and stop it and talk to the relevant players. Where do I come in? I came in because they wanted me to talk to Sunday Igboho to give a guarantee that if the Northerners came back down south, they started supplying food once again, because at that time Northerners were leaving the southwest in drones. Okay, if they came back south and they lifted the food embargo, would there be a guarantee for their safety in the south? And that they wanted me to prevail on this young man because they knew how close and know how close I am to him. And that if that could happen, then perhaps we could now stop this threat of carnage and killing and reprisals. Their argument was that their own people from the north had been killed during the Lekki riots, and also they had been killed during the killings in Shasha in Ibadan. So they wanted to do reprisal killings. And he said something which touched my heart. He said that the federal government would fight to ensure that this was not allowed and that lives were protected in the north. Southern lives were protected. But they would take the full might of the federal government to ensure that. So we must sort this problem out in an amicable way and resolve it. We went back into the room, and then I made the call. I put it on speakerphone. I called Sunday and I told him, you're on speakerphone. Governor of Kogi State is here with a number of other people. This is the dilemma that I have. That I want you to give a guarantee here and now that if the food embargo is lifted and the Northerners come back to the south, particularly to the southwest, that you guarantee their safety. And then Sunday said, is that what you want, sir? I said, yes. He said, okay, I'm guaranteeing it. Not only am I guaranteeing it, I will meet them at the border when they come in. I think he said from Kogi State, at Ondo or something like that. And I will escort them down and we will ensure that they are well protected. He said that. He spoke to the governor directly. He spoke to all the other players, about four people that were members of the unions. He spoke to them as well. And that is how the issue of the food embargo, that's how we began the process of negotiating to ensure that food embargo was lifted. And it was successful. But more importantly is this, the threats that were being made against Southerners in the north. From the minute he gave that guarantee, those threats were now lifted. And the gentlemen that were behind that, some of whom had been detained, I might add, came into the room afterwards and said, no more threats, no more attacks on Southerners, everything is put on hold, because Sunday Igboho had given his word, and because I had sat down and we had negotiated this thing. And we made a few calls to a few Southwestern governors there and then, and told them what we had done, and that is how we achieved peace. And it occurred to me.
You did quietly?
We did it quietly, we did it behind closed doors. We didn't make noise about it, but what we did do is that, the next 3-4 days was every day, and I have to commend the governor of Kogi State for this. That's why I want immense respect for him. I saw what he was doing, and we were there together. Every day for the next 3 or 4 days, he negotiated on behalf of the federal government with these people. And it was a very tough negotiation. A number of issues rose up, which they raised. And everybody was reasonable. Everybody sat around the table, and at the end of it all, we all agreed. And when we had the final press conference here in Abuja, the northern unions All the things that I've just told you, they said it. If people would only listen, that they did this embargo to ensure that there wasn't carnage in the north as a way of appeasing those that wanted to start killing Southerners in the north, and that all of that had stopped. They made a commitment, nothing like that would happen. And that is how we ensure we had peace. If the carnage had started and they started killing Southerners in the north, of course there would have been reprisals in the south, and all hell would have broken loose.
Well, we'll come right back into the conversation, but after this time. My name is Cally Ikpe. Don't go anywhere.
Lack of inclusiveness breeds distrust and ultimately engenders restiveness. Ignoring the youth who constitute the bulk of our population is a sure recipe for disaster. No sane society should consign its youth to the background. Hand in hand with our youths, and we can build a strong, prosperous, and peaceful nation. I am Yahaya Bello, and I believe we can have a violence-free Nigeria.
Hello and welcome. My name is Cally Ikpe, and this is Violence Free World. We're continuing with our conversation with Chief Femi Fani Kayode, former Minister of Aviation and now a chieftain of the All Progressive Congress. Chief, we were talking about models for how we can get out of where we are today as far as insecurity is concerned. And I remember you were on the stage with me back there in Kogi during Governor Bello's 46th birthday, and we're talking about how come he's not sharing his model, his principles with the rest of his colleagues and so on. Some persons will even tell you that he's just being lucky here in this case. What's really going on there? What is your friend just lucky? What's happening?
Well, I'm not sure it has much to do with luck. He's diligent, hardworking, and very focused.
No, particularly, I will tell you now, Kogi State was going to be the second home for Boko Haram.
Yeah, no,
right? Yes, Kogi State was going to be the second home for Boko Haram. Something he did, and it is reversed. It is not the case anymore. Now, they don't have their flag hosted anywhere there. What did he do differently?
That came as a consequence of hard work, diligence, and courage, which is where I was heading. His case is an extraordinary one. Yes, you could say that it's divine providence he became governor the way he became governor. It's not ordinary. The man that would have been governor dropped dead on the day that he was elected, and he now emerged as the governor of the state. But since that time, look at what has happened in the state. And it's unfortunate a lot of people seem to want to underplay this and come up with disinformation and misinformation about him. I think that's one of the unfortunate things that happens in this country. They tend to shoot down their best and they tend to lift up the very, very worst. You understand? That's just Nigeria for you. But look at it. You made the point, and you're absolutely right. There was a time when he first came in, or just after he came in, the plan was to ensure that the headquarters for Boko Haram was in Kogi State, and they were boasting how they'd hoist their flag there and so on and so forth, and make it the headquarters for Boko Haram in this country. What did he do? He came in, he fought them head on, he drove them out, he pulled down their flags, and he made his own state one of the most crime-free states in the country. That is an extraordinary achievement. You know, kidnappers were eliminated whenever they were caught. It was done quietly, it was done effectively, and the most interesting of all, the LGA chairmen themselves, together with the governor themselves, sometimes participated in these security operations. How many governors are ready to risk their lives the way he has risked his life? How many of them have committed their council chairmen to do the same? How many of them have fought the bandits, the terrorists, the way he has fought them? And crime generally. This is what he has managed to do quietly and effectively. And I commend him for that. It took courage, it took guts, and it took a lot of dedication and commitment. And I'm very proud of it.
Couldn't it just be that because he's enjoying so much favor from the president, a lot of people report that he's so close to?
Well, you know, even if you enjoy all the favor in the world from the president, if you're not prepared to do the right thing and take the risk, take the bull by the horns, and fight the evil, you're not going to go very far. He has utilized his connections and his links with the villa in a very positive way, and they've supported him in everything that he's doing. And that's one of the things that I found attractive, that, you know, about them. You have a young man like this that is dedicated to ensuring that he brings the very best in terms of security to his people, and they have supported him wholeheartedly. And it works, and it does work. No matter what anybody says about Yahya Bello, he has effected that. And this is a template that I think needs to be translated to the whole country. He has effected it, he cares about it, he's compassionate, and he's kind. I saw that when we were having our negotiations with all the people that we discussed with over the other issues that I mentioned earlier. And I'm very proud of what he has managed to do in Kogi State in terms of security, and I sincerely hope that others will learn from it.
Well, Chief, I think that's a very good point to leave it. I must say at this point that I share your optimism. I'm excited at it. Well, I've been speaking with Chief Femi Fani Kayode, former Minister of Aviation and now a chieftain of the All Progressive Congress. Chief, once again, thank you very much for obliging us.
Thank you very much.
Same time next week, promises more if you endeavor to be here. Until then, please remember to remain on the road to a violence-free Nigeria. My name is Cally Ikpe. Thank you for watching. God bless.
No more.